Hello, my dear friends. It is Sarah here, and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how I put together this really cute, very simple manger nativity scene with Mary, Joseph, and baby Jesus, and a little donkey. All the pieces come out. Mary and Joseph are finger puppets, so they can be played with on the finger. And this one is really quick to make, so I'm actually going to film this video in real time, and I'm not going to edit it unless I get like some sort of interruption, which I don't think I will because my kids are at school. So it's really quick to put together. I've already got all of the pieces cut out. Everything that I need to have cut, I've got it cut. I cut multiple pieces at once on my cutting machine. I actually cut enough to make 10 copies of this at once. I have a craft show coming up, so I'm wanting to make a whole bunch of them and sell them at that craft show. And so, yeah, the cutting time, when you cut them all at once, I allocate about 10 minutes per page, which is not a lot. But the thing is, when you're cutting all these pieces at once, it's really quick when you account for the per page time for cutting. And then let's see how long it takes to assemble. Start your timers and let's put this together. As always, we're going to start out with an 8" by 8" sheet of felt. I'm just using stiff Amazon felt for this, and I'm using the color dark blue. I'm going to start by sewing down just at the bottom here, a stitch across here, and then I'm going to grab my green rectangle piece that's going to go along the bottom. I'm just going to clip that in place. Actually, no, I'm not going to clip that in place yet first because I'm going to sew that, but then I'm going to clip the green piece in place, and I'm not going to sew around this whole thing. Instead, I'm just going to sew around the border of this structure here. Next, I'm going to grab another 8" by 8" sheet of felt. This one's actually a printed felt. You could just use a regular sheet of felt and wrap it in fabric. I didn't really have a fabric for once. I did not have a fabric that really went with this activity page, but I'm just going to use the printed felt, and I'm going to clip that onto the back side with my binding piece in the middle. It's just a 2 or 3 millimeter thick piece of felt, and that's what I use for my binding pieces. So I'm going to clip that and sew all around the border. I'm going to leave the top part open, and that way the page itself can also act as a pocket for the finger puppets. Okay, for the page itself, that's all the sewing done, and you can see by going around the border, I've created this little pocket here that can also be used for storage. I'm going to use my heavy-duty hole punch, and put 2 holes into the binding piece so that my customers can connect the pages and build a little book. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my 2 darker brown pieces for Joseph and 2 lighter brown or lighter blue pieces for Mary, and I'm just going to sew 2 copies together around the border, leaving the tops open, and then I'll be done with the sewing machine. Alrighty, I've already got my hot glue gun on and warmed up, so I'm going to start hot gluing on the details of Mary and Joseph. I'm going to start with gluing on this kind of golden brown piece on the front of Joseph's body. And again, you could sew these pieces on if you wanted to, but I just prefer to hot glue. I think it's much quicker. And I'm going to hot glue on the face. And then I'm going to hot glue on these 2 side pieces here, right along the side of the head. And then this piece goes along the top. Actually, I think I hot glued those a little bit high, but that's okay. This piece goes along the top. Actually, yeah, I hot glued them way too high. I should have hot glued those a little bit lower because I don't really want them overhanging above this piece that goes along the top. And then we have 2 dark brown pieces for the arms. I'm going to hot glue those down. And then we have 2 little circles for the hands, and I'm just going to hot glue them one right next to each other so that it kind of looks like, I'll do that for both Mary and Joseph, so that it kind of looks like they're almost praying, giving thanks for their beautiful baby. And I'm going to do the same, all the same details with Mary. And I chose the colors light blue and light purple for her clothes. Side note as well, if you were wanting to do a larger nativity set, I've done a video for this before, I believe. And I believe I have a free printable cutout on my website. The template for the wise men and a shepherd, if you're wanting to add those as well, they're pretty much the exact same as for Joseph. The only difference is they have a beard instead of like just a plain skin-colored face. They have a beard. And so adding those is still a lot more little pieces, and I'm only making this one really simple because I'm going to be selling it, and I don't want it to charge too much. Where's the other piece that I need? Oh, for Mary, I'm just going to do these 2 pieces on her side. I'll hot glue those down. So I'm keeping mine really simple, just with Mary, Joseph, and baby Jesus, and then a donkey. But if you wanted to add the shepherd, the 3 wise men and a shepherd, you can, and I've done that before, and I've pretty much I make them pretty much the exact same way as how I make the Joseph, like I said, with the exception of a beard And like the wise men have crowns and they're holding, you know, their gifts. So yeah, but I'm keeping it simple today. And we have a little bit of brown hair for Mary as well. Oops, I went a little heavy on the hot glue there, but that's okay. For this little manger, I'm just going to hot glue around the border, like at the sides and the bottom, because I want the little baby to be able to be tucked into the manger. And I'm just going to glue it over top of that grass there. And then I have two little egg shapes here. That is for baby Jesus. I'm going to hot glue 2 copies of those together. That'll give it some stiffness and some structure. And then a little circle for the face. We'll hot glue that on. And then I also have a white star. I'm going to hot glue that up in the corner onto the page. And then the last bit of hot gluing is I'm just going to hot glue 2 copies of this donkey together. You could just leave it at 1 copy, but I'm going to do 2 copies just to make it nice and stiff and structured so it doesn't really fold or bend. I'm just going to do it in 2 sections here. And then last, hold on, let me find my markers here. Last but not least, I'm just going to take some paint markers and I'm going to just draw on some peaceful, oh, I don't like that one. That one's too thick. Hold on. This one has a finer point pen. Oh, that one's too messy. Oh. Okay, I have a certain fine point paint marker that I like to use. I think this is the one. I'm just going to use that to draw on their faces. Just really simple, peaceful faces. Okay, I accidentally drew Joseph's mouth way too thick and messy. That was because I grabbed my wrong paint marker. And then we'll draw a little eye on the donkey as well on both sides. And we'll draw a little face on the baby as well. Okay, and there you have it, is the whole nativity scene with Mary and Joseph and little baby Jesus. I'm just going to tuck him into the little manger there, and that's the activity page. So I finished that in about 13 minutes. And then, like I said, the cutting time is probably close to 10 minutes, maybe a little less. I would give myself 20 to 25 minutes to put this all together. I give the details of the cost of this page and all the materials that are required and the cost of those materials on my Patreon. And I have the exact template that I use in bulk. I'll show that to you guys at the end of this video in a minute here. So if you're curious and you want to see what that looks like on my Patreon, it's a template that's available in SVG and JPEG format. And then I believe I already have a cutout of this available on my website. The cutout that I have is for a bigger set that involves the wise men, but you can just do these pieces if you wanted to. Okay, thanks so much you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Very quickly, for any of you who stuck around and are curious about what the template looks like, here's what it looks like. It's pretty straightforward, and I'm just going to go over it quickly. I think I mentioned earlier, this is for making 10 copies of this activity page at once. That's how I make it in bulk. So I've arranged the templates to be cut on 12-inch by 12-inch sheets of felt, and the idea is to cut 10 sets at a time. So starting here with this light blue set, those are all for Mary's clothing. Cutting out one of this will cut enough for 5 copies, so you need to cut 2 of those for Mary's clothing if you want to do 10. This light brown is for Joseph's clothing, and if you count them, you'll see that there's 10 copies there, so you just need to cut one of those. This is for more of Mary's clothing, and I chose a purple color, and if you count them again, there's 10 copies there, so you just need to do one of those cuts. This one here on this 12-inch by 12-inch sheet of felt will give you enough for 2 copies of the background, so I cut out 5 of those on 5 sheets of felt. This one here is just an extra one. I got a request to share the backgrounds that I did on a bigger nativity set, so that's just an optional one. I actually don't use this one in this video. This one is for Joseph's clothes and the manger frame and the manger, and yeah, that cuts enough for 2 copies of each, so I need to cut out 5 of those in order to have enough for 10. This peach one cuts enough for 10 of all of the faces, and the hands for Joseph, Mary, baby Jesus, and then the hands for Mary and Joseph. This one cuts enough for 10 copies of the white stars and the, you'll see 20 little ovals. That's because I hot glued 2 copies together for the body of baby Jesus. And then these are donkeys. They cut enough for 5 copies, but again, I hot glued 2 copies together. So you need to cut out 4 of these to get enough for 10 sets of the donkey. And then here's the green grass. It cuts enough for 5 in one cut, so I cut that out twice. So altogether, with these felt pieces, the way that I've designed it, it's 22 cuts altogether. And someone asked me, how do I figure out the cost of the felt pieces that I use in each of the templates? So I thought I'd just quickly explain that here. Altogether, to make 10 copies of this, it requires me to do 22 cuts of 12-inch by 12-inch sheets of felt. So assuming that I pay $2 for each of those 12-inch by 12-inch sheets of felt, that's 22 sheets of felt times $2 each is $44. And then that gives me enough to make 10 pages. So I divide that by 10, and that works out to $4.40 per page for all of the felt pieces. Now that doesn't include the actual felt like background page itself, but that is the majority of the cost to make this page. So that's how I figure out the costs of all the felt pieces that are needed to make each of my pages. And I share those details on my Patreon. And this is the template that I share on my Patreon, both in JPEG and SVG format. Okay, let me know if you guys have any questions, and I hope that helps. I'll see you in the next video.